I pray you pull back your cavalry and leave this matter to me.
I pray you retire unharmed to Damascus.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the workshop. Today I'll be showing you how to make this King Baldwin IV costume. Enjoy. To make everyone's lives easier, I just put all the patterns on some office paper next to €5 and a US quarter for scale if you want to screenshot it and then upload that file to your computer, and then you can use that bill to get the correct size, and then you can cut those out if you have a printer. But yeah, that's just going to help us move forward with the mask portion if you're trying to follow along. For the bottom of the nose, I literally just made up the scrap piece and then I put it underneath like that. Obviously cardboard's a rigid material and it needs to be skin-like, but it's also supposed to mimic a metal mask, so it gets kind of tricky there. But as you can see, I reinforced all the back and the front with hot glue. You're just going to use a wet finger to smooth everything over, and then you can sculpt it, shape it, move it over. It's really easy to move when it's wet. Yeah, that's how I apply the clay. All right, this is the progress. I added some extra clay around where the mustache and a little bit of the beard's going to be, so I can just carve that in with some kind of stencil. We're going to let that dry first before I work on it any further. While it was still wet around the mustache and beard, I carved in the goatee on the mask with a screwdriver. I just did some very light scratches and it looks fine that way. I did tweak the nose a bunch because his is very slim and slender, so I'm trying to match the movies, of course, as best as to my ability as I can. And yeah, there's a lot of like small tweaks, but I'm just gonna leave it be because I'm actually finally satisfied with the way it is. Okay, so this is the state of the mask after drying overnight and for a few hours after that too. It cracked a little bit because this air dry clay does shrink, so I went back with some wet clay and just smoothed over all those cracks. And because of that, that poses a problem. It's gonna crack, it's pretty fragile. I'm gonna spray it with something called Plastidip. I'm actually going to go back and forth with Flex Seal 2. And there it is. I sprayed Flex Seal on all the parts I was really worried about it cracking, and then the whole thing in Plastidip, even the back. I'm just going to use this silver acrylic paint. Now the hardest part of this build is basically complete after this paint dries. So now we're going to move on to the surcoat, starting with the Cross of Jerusalem. I made the cross with a piece of paper folded in half once, and then you fold that in half again, and then you fold that diagonally. And after you do that, you're going to cut out a foot shape, and then the center is that point you see right by my left hand. So when you cut that shape out and you unfold it, you'll have a symmetrical cross template that you can use to apply to foam and then cut that out. Now for the rest of the coat of arms, I just did the same thing I just showed you. I got a piece of foam, folded it in half, drew half of a shield shape, and when you unfold it, you get a symmetrical shape. The other mini crosses cut out, I just layered a bunch of like 4 pieces on top of each other, and then just cut out the same shape, and then of course get identical shapes. And same thing here, I just looked at Baldwin's surcoat a bunch of times and then sketched out a shape that resembles it closely, and that's good enough for me. So when you unfold it, you get this butterfly, and then it wasn't big enough, so I had to extend it. And then there is the back. I'm gonna use this puffy paint after I put the Plastidip on to add some extra detail on the edge of the foam, on the pink foam here. Okay, while that dries, I'm gonna move on to the surcoat. So I have this 6-foot piece of blue fabric I got from Walmart. It was like $7, and it's folded in half, so it's 3 feet tall. I'm gonna cut it 25 inches wide, which leaves about half an inch for glue on each side for the seams. And then I'm gonna cut a head hole and then 2 armpit holes out. You can use a large t-shirt to help you guide where the head hole and armholes go. That's what I did. And then I'm gonna have to add some scrap pieces of fabric to extend it down to my knees because it's not long enough. I'm going to be using this fabric tack glue to sew the fabric. I don't have a sewing machine yet. Surprisingly, I got a welding machine before I got a sewing machine, but regardless, this is what I'm gonna use to stick them together. All right, here's what it looks like. You can see the glue is dry now. And then we're just gonna turn this inside out. As you can see, that's pretty good. That's what it looks like so far. And it should be a little bit longer, so I can just add some scraps using the same sewing glue. The cross of Jerusalem looks like. It's unpainted, but the foam's there. And then the puffy paint dried, so you can actually touch it now. Okay, there it is. It looks pretty nice. There's some spots I could touch up, but it was pretty hard to get in there even with the little brush. It looks about good. We're gonna fabric glue that. And I'm actually gonna use hot glue and fabric glue. If you do this, put something underneath in between the surcoat so it doesn't leak through to the other side and get stuck onto the back side of the fabric. But yeah, that's where we're gonna place it. Now for the male, I'm actually going to do something different. Instead of actual links of soda tabs or rivets or anything like that, I'm going to use this mesh fabric, which is 6 feet long and 18 inches wide. I'm going to roll it in half, and then I'm going to make it a habergeon, which is a short male t-shirt, because you only need so much just to protect your arms and armpits. So it's an actual historical armor, but I'm not going the entire tunic because the surcoat's going to cover it up anyway, except for the sleeves, so that's what we're going to go with. After hot gluing the sleeves shut and cutting off the excess, I folded it in half, and I'm going to cut a head hole. And after that, I spray painted this silver. I attempted to make Baldwin's male coif with the same mesh fabric technique, but that did not work out so well, so I'm just going to make a polyester veil, which is good enough. So, like I said, I'm just going to make a veil to replace the chainmail coif. And in order to do that, I got some polyester fabric. You can tell because it's like really shiny. And this is also going to be his cape and cloak that goes around. But we're going to cut a square off of this, 31.5 by 21 inches. That's just a big rectangle, and that's enough for a veil. So in order to get the veil to stay to my head, I'm using this white Velcro. I just put 3 pieces on the mask, 1 in the middle, 2 on each side. Yeah, I just copied those 3 pieces onto the veil right there. There and there. Might be hard to see, but if it is, that's a good thing. You just attach them to the mask like so. Just like that. And there we go. I also might line my chainmail with gold to cover up a mistake. I definitely like this better than my chainmail coif attempt. So yeah, we're gonna go with this. I don't know if I mentioned this yet, but there's a black piece of foam because it was uncomfortable there. So yeah, I just used craft foam. Okay, so I have this piece of polyester fabric, the shiny white, of course. And it is 20 inches by 15 inches. I'm going to scrunch up the sides every 4 or 3 inches, and it gives like a cool draped effect. You'll see. So it's gonna like have those nice folds in the center. So we're gonna take this now back to another full piece of fabric with the corners folded over. These are the dimensions of it. It's 2 yards long. So I folded over the edges on the long side. I'm actually going to wear it long side across my shoulders because you can actually kind of see that detail on Baldwin's cape. I'm going to take the thing we just made and I'm going to center it. It's 20 inches wide, but I'm going to center it on the cape. So like right there in the middle, you just go 3 feet in. Here's a yardstick. And that should be the center. The fabric's not cut perfectly, obviously, but that's 3 feet in. And this is 20 inches, so you just come back 10 inches, come back to 26, and then 26 will be the end of one side. This should be 26 inches right here. Okay, I folded in, I glued it like that. Like the fabric goes like this and it's laying flat, so you have to bend these in a little bit. And what I'm gonna put there are these 2 pieces of cardboard I just wrapped in gold duct tape as an accent piece. So I'm just gonna glue those right there, and then we should be done. The base of this costume consists of all white clothing, sweatpants, long sleeve shirt, and a white shiesty. I am using white duct tape to lightly tape over the fingers of the left hand because Baldwin's hand does have a bandaged left hand. And I'm going over these costume gloves I got from Amazon for 15 bucks. Initially, I used white kitchen gloves to be a cheaper option, but my hands got really sweaty in them very fast, so I opted for costume gloves from Amazon. Then I put on the mesh habergeon, and you can see the gold duct tape around the wrists where I had to splice together some extra fabric to make it longer. But then I put on my favorite part of the costume, which is actually the surcoat. The coat of arms turned out to be amazing. And then you can just use any belt for the belt, but I used one of my nylon strap belts I usually use for surcoats or to hold scabbards for my past videos. So I just used that. And then after I put on the cloak, the mask is last. Whoa. This is my first time seeing myself in the full costume. I'm pretty satisfied with this. And I gotta say it, this is probably the most comfortable costume I've ever made in a while, so that's always nice. And here it is in all of its glory. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you like these builds that I do, like and subscribe for more videos. And as always, salam alaikum and alaikum salam.
Silence!
Salah ad-Din has crossed the Jordan with 200,000 men. Assemble the army.